Red Voyage News, splashing the check-in. Thank you for tuning in. I have an article right here brought to you by the Daily Mail. Canadian firefighters and cops mistake missing woman's burned corpse for a mannequin and toss it in a dumpster. Now, I know those of you that are watching and listening to this right now, you're just as shocked as I am. All right. How can anybody mistake a dead body for a mannequin and just toss it in a dumpster? I'm going to make it all make sense. All right. For those of you that have never lived in Canada before, you never visited Canada, and you're not Canadian, I'm going to make it all make sense for you. This happened in Montreal, Quebec. All right. They said when firefighters got to the scene, witnesses told them that they believed someone had burnt a silicone mannequin behind the factory. Now, I do know that they do make life-size, realistic-looking silicone mannequins out there. But the difference between a silicone mannequin and a human is blood temperature, blood, bones, organs, flesh, smell, acne, birthmarks, eczema, saliva, body hair in different places around the body, urine, bowel movement, chipped nail polish, musty underarms, a dirty ass, cellulite, flubber. Like, how do you mistake a dead body for a mannequin? Police joined fire crews and officers and firefighters agreed that the body was a mannequin and they would place it in a container at police department headquarters, which McConnell said was not acceptable to the public. This is Chief Danny McConnell. Okay. At around 10:45 a.m., firefighters arrived at police headquarters with what they still believe was a mannequin and placed it inside the dumpster, just outside. They would, however, not begin to realize their mistake until 4 hours later when at 2:15 p.m., a resident reported their wife missing. Upon investigation, they tracked the woman's cell phone signal and were led to her car parked nearby the site of the fire that morning. It wasn't until 6:30 p.m. that police decided to collect the alleged mannequin, McConnell said, from the dumpster and examine it further and discovered that it was the body of the missing woman. They gave a public apology, blah, 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 blah. These are a bunch of idiots. I mean, I am shocked, but I'm not shocked. The reason why I'm not shocked is because, let me tell you something. In America, I'm not going to say that anybody and everybody can just become a police officer, but from what I heard, the written test to become a police officer in America isn't that difficult. Okay. The physical training is one thing. People are able to pass the physical training. You know, there are people who fail. There are people who are, they don't even make it to training because of their background. They're denied. They're like, yeah, you're not fit to be a police officer. Your criminal record, you know, we can't have you on the force out there with a badge and a gun. But once they've managed to pass training, pass the physical training and the written test, they get sworn in, they get their uniform, they get their badge, they get their gun, and they're set out in whatever district they're assigned to on their routes. They start work, and in certain states in America, they're paid a salary that the public would deem to be quite low. Okay. In Mississippi, the average police officer salary is $36,290. Arkansas, about $40,000. Louisiana, $42,000. West Virginia, $44,000. Alabama, $46,000. North Carolina, $47,000. Okay. 10 states where the police officers earn the most money. California, $105,000. But you know how expensive California is. Nevada, $73,000. Delaware, $73,000. New York, $77,000. Wow. I would think that New York would have been much higher, but no. And I would like to speak to a police officer that works in California. Are they actually getting $105,000 But when it comes to housing, America doesn't have that buddy system that Canada has that's openly acceptable. You're either married or you're single. And if you're single, you either live by yourself or you live with roommates. Okay? In Canada, all police officers make a minimum of $100,000. People who are in law enforcement that are a step below police officers, they are called peace officers, and they make around $85,000 a year. Okay? Imagine them making $100,000 a year in Canada, and a lot of people, like, it's openly acceptable, and it's known all over Canada that people, more than likely, that, a lot of people live with roommates. Okay? There's a website called kijiji.ca, and you can rent a room, rent a basement, or rent an entire apartment or home. I can't tell you how many people I know that would rent rooms. You'll have an entire family, right? The family is one race, and then they have a male or a female that come in and out of the house. That's a totally different race. And you're like, okay, did they adopt this person? Like, what happened? No, this person's just renting out the basement, or they're renting out a room for $400 a month. All right. The police test, the written test to become a police officer in Canada is very difficult. I mean, that test, from what I heard, is painful to take. It is not an easy test, and anybody and everybody cannot just become a police officer in Canada. And trust me, I've taken several classes, courses in Canada. The way their testing system over there, I mean, it's extremely difficult. That's why it's a land full of uneducated people in high positions in Canada. A lot of people don't go to university in Canada. That's why, when you meet a Canadian and you ask them, okay, what college did you go to? They correct you. They say, oh, college? I didn't go to college. I went to university, because there's a difference, right? College is like, okay, it's like, that's the place you go when you're broke, you're low class, you're too stupid to get accepted in a university. Because let me tell you, the tests that I've taken in Canada, the way it's set up, let me simplify it for you. Let's say you're taking a test, and test number 1 says 1 + 1 = what? Is it A, 2? Is it B, 4 minus, the answer to 4 minus 2? C, 2 times 1, the answer to 2 times 1, or D, 4.0. Okay, now the tests aren't exactly like that, with the numbers and everything. But imagine taking a test, and the way the question and the answers and how they set up the answers is similar to the example I just gave you. That's how the testing system is in Canada. And anybody can attest to that. Okay, it's extremely difficult. I've met so many people in high positions in Canada that did not have a degree, didn't even finish high school, but they're working downtown in the accounting department for an oil rig company, for an oil company, right? So to become a police officer, you are intelligent. You're extremely intelligent. You pay attention to detail. You have the eye of a hawk and the ear of a snake. It's almost like you got a photographic memory for you to be able to remember specific details in the book. So when you come across a difficult question or questions on the exam, you're like, oh, I know which one it is. I know the book word for word. It's like they're almost a genius. They're geniuses on the force. But the thing is they don't have that rough edge. They don't want to get dirty. That's the difference. Like, Canadian police officers, they're smart, but they don't like getting dirty. It's like, I studied hard to get to this point. I went to university to get to this point. Now I got to this point. I'm making 6 figures getting to this point. And now I pretty much don't really want to do much of anything. They don't really have me personally, I personally feel like a lot of cops don't really have the street smarts like a lot of cops, in Canada, they don't really have the street smarts like a lot of cops do in America. That's the difference. They're more intelligent, but as far as the street smarts, it's a difference. Okay. Now, many people might disagree, and that's okay. But I'm telling you from experience what I've seen. I'll give you an example. One time in Calgary, okay, and I think these were clever criminals that set this whole thing up, okay? There was a shooting on the east side. Nobody got shot. People just heard gunshots go off. People just heard a couple rounds being shot in the air, and that was a big deal. Because you're in Canada, you're in Calgary, and if somebody has a pistol, it's like nobody's supposed to have guns in Canada. They have very strict gun laws. All right. So whoever had a gun and whoever was just shooting in the air, there was a shooting, nobody got shot. All right. So it seemed like all the police officers in the city gathered around this area where the bullet shells were, the gunshots went off. It seemed like every cop that was on shift at that time at night went over to the east side. While they were over on the east side, like there were other criminals, or probably the criminals that was a part of that group that was shooting on the east side. They were causing havoc on the west side. On the west side, there was a high-end like strip mall area, and they just hit up business after business after business, shattered the glass in this entire strip mall. They went into one dental office. He was trying to, he had this big high-end fancy dental office where he had flat screen TVs everywhere, iPads, in the, all in the waiting room in the front. So people can play on their iPads while they were waiting to get seen by the dentist. They hit up other businesses for their furniture, their flat screens, everything. So I think all of that was planned and organized because they know how these cops think. It's like, okay, let me just come over here to where these gunshots were, where these bullet shells are on the ground, and let me just pretty much chill out for the rest of my shift tonight. When there only should have been a handful of responders that went over to the east side and everybody else was on post around the entire city. Now, that's how they move over in Canada. And getting back to this story right here, you got police officers that are too intelligent for their own kind. You're so smart. Let me rephrase that. You're so book smart, you weren't able to even properly determine whether, the quote unquote body you picked up was either a mannequin or a human. How do you not know the difference? A mannequin, they don't have charred flesh. It's a different kind of smell. Nobody can smell a burnt dead body out there. What I think what happened was I really felt like they thought it was a body, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I just think that they knew it was a body, and it was a lot of paperwork that was probably involved. You got to call a team to come out there and tape off the entire area. You got to stay there all day. You got to make phone calls, fill out paperwork, whatever the routine is. And they just feel like, hey, I don't really feel like doing all of that. Not even thinking that this is a married woman. You didn't even check her, for jewelry, her finger, for rings, nothing. Cell phone. I mean, this woman obviously she had a purse, right? A pocketbook, socks, shoes. I'm pretty sure she didn't have fresh new Air Nikes on that she just bought that morning. I'm pretty sure her shoes were probably a couple months old. Like a silicone, like they don't have saliva or bodily fluids in silicone. How do you get that? I just think they just were like, let's just dump her in the dumpster and get off work. You know, it's almost time for me to clock out. I don't want to be here all day. Let's just throw in a dumpster and keep it moving. It's like you're so book smart that when it comes to street smarts or just basic logic, all of that goes out the window and you look like an idiot. So I hope the husband of this wife sues the police department, because that's ridiculous. I mean, that's a horrendous way to find out about what happened, you know, to your wife. You guys dumped her in the dump. You can't tell like what? You thought it was a mannequin. Total difference between silicone and a real body. Anyways, if you like the content that I'm posting up on this YouTube channel, you want to, you know, show your support, make a donation, you can click the link in the description box below. It'll redirect you to my buymeacoffee.com page. It's kind of similar to patreon.com, but it's buymeacoffee.com. You come over here, you hover over the support tab, and you can quote unquote buy me a coffee. The minimum amount you could donate is $5. If you would like to learn, you know, become a member and watch some exclusive videos on the do's and don'ts on living abroad, what it's really like living abroad, you know, talk about topics that other travel YouTubers aren't talking about on YouTube. I got 10 videos posted up so far. You can become a member, $8 a month. Okay. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.